Hi and welcome to YouthTalk, a podcast ran by Baptist Youth, where in each episode we take a different topic and get a bunch of tips from someone directly involved in youth ministry. In today's episode we're joined by Mark Houston, the youth pastor in Windsor Baptist Church, and Mark's going to be sharing with us on the topic of how to get the most out of your residential. Recordings of each episode of YouthTalk can be found on YouTube, Castbox and iTunes, or accessed through our social media pages. Thanks for listening and we hope you enjoy.
Love that conquers my feeling regret.
Mark, thanks for joining us
in
the brand new podcast for Baptist Youth. Why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Mark, I'm 34, married to Ruth, and we've got a little boy, Toby. He's coming 2 in September. Living in Belfast at the minute, about 5 minutes down the road, and we've been here with Windsor 9 years in September, and just loving it, really.
Brilliant. So tell us a little bit about Windsor, what your role is, and what the youth Windsor is like.
Yeah. So our heart in Windsor is to be a church without walls. What does that actually mean, look like? We want to be a place where people come, they're welcome, folk of all ages, stages, backgrounds, where they can come, experience true, vibrant community, and meet the person of Jesus, and grow in relationship with him. So that's our heart behind everything that we do as a church. Youth-wise, I suppose I've been here a good while, and so I've seen a kind of cycle of young people come through, and that's grown from maybe 25 people through to now we have 80 or so regular over the 4 programs. So that's brilliant to see. Team-wise, we've got about 35 or so at the minute, again over the 4 programs, and good engagement from parents, wider support from church, and all of that kind of combined to give a really exciting dynamic. And growth-wise in church, we've kind of experienced growth over the past couple of years. So when I first came to Windsor, we were at Malone Avenue and there was about 150 people there, and now on a Sunday morning we've got 330 thereabouts. Mm-hmm. So that's incredible to see. It's a bit crazy, but it's good.
Brilliant. And so you're the youth pastor here?
Youth pastor here, yeah.
Brilliant.
So started off part-time youth work for 3 years, and then it moved to pastor.
Great. And in this episode we're looking specifically at residentials and sort of the value that they play in local church youth ministry. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why you think residentials are so significant for local church youth ministry from your perspective?
Yeah, I love residentials. So growing up, my dad was a youth leader. I've been going to youth residentials since I was sort of 5 or something like that. So I've kind of grown up with them. So it's part of my experience of church, of youth group. But I love them because people talk about them. It's a thing that people remember and talk about for years to come. So I meet up with young people who I was part of back in the day, and we talk about youth residentials. It's the one thing that sticks out. And so it's a place where memories are made, that those commitments and decisions are taken, where life is changed and direction is set, and all those things, along with incredible banter and all of that kind of stuff. But it's interesting, above kind of the Bible talks, the banter, all of that, it's a relationship piece that people connect with and remember, and it sticks. And so I think that's really exciting. We asked our young people recently, what kind of makes the most impact on you? What's the most beneficial thing that we do as a youth? And the 2 things that come up were small groups and residentials.
Wow. We
were saying, why is that? Tease it out a bit. And so they were just saying it's a space to be. Be with one another, but be with God. You know, in a time culture where it's 24/7, there's pressure on all the time. It's that space to be and to reflect and process and be challenged and journey with people. They just really appreciate.
Brilliant.
So it's that kind of doing life together for that 24 hours or 48 hours. Or whatever.
Do you think that this generation of young people, from your experience of being a youth pastor, do they nearly crave it more, just based on their environment and the world that they're in?
Yeah. probably that kind of face-to-face kind of interaction, because what we find is we say, you can park your phone for the weekend.
Yeah.
So we give the option, but the majority of people just do that naturally because they're in a relationship with other people. And so the conversation tends to happen that bit easier.
Brilliant.
At residentials, because you're doing stuff together.
Yeah, great. For many of the youth leaders watching, perhaps a youth weekend or a residential is something that they have done regularly, but perhaps it's just something that they've maybe inherited from maybe previous youth leaders. What would you say is the main kind of strategic purpose of a youth weekend? What should leaders be really trying to get out of the youth weekend as they think about planning their next one?
Yep. There's probably lots of things. We've journeyed with this a bit over the years. I would say above all for us, it's time. So regular program with our young people, we have about 40 hours over a year with our young people. So that's not a lot of time, but the residential then almost doubles that when you take in the Friday to Sunday. And so for me, it's time, contact time with young people. A chance to invest in those relationships, to teach and challenge, encourage, to draw alongside, and just give that kind of advice, I guess. So it's an incredible opportunity, I think, just that time. And so you can go further, you can go faster, you can go deeper in those 24 hours, 28 hours, or 48 hours. Than you can perhaps over the course of a whole year. We find, just because it's so intense. And so it brings that dynamic. Albeit you need the kind of regular stuff and the contact throughout the year. That's really important. So I suppose the question that we have landed on is, how do we make the most of that time? So you've got 25, 30 hours extra time with your young people on a residential. How are you going to make the most of that?
Brilliant.
Because it's a really special time. We find our young people come ready for residentials, whereas on a programme night they don't always come ready. And so there's an expectation that they come with, they're leaning in, and so it's making the most of that.
That's interesting, isn't it, actually, because that's perhaps why there's such significant times, because there's a real focus. They're probably counting down the weeks, counting down the days to the residential, and that's why amazing things tend to happen.
Definitely.
Kind of from that then, what do you think it gives a flavour of what a programme would look like for Windsor? I suppose you're saying you've got that dedicated amount of time with young people that you don't typically have. So do we go down the avenue of that's a great opportunity to really get into God's Word and really go really deep with the teaching for an extended period of time? Or do you kind of take the other approach, which is perhaps, let's just use it for relationship building? What wisdom can you offer there?
So by no means do we have this right. We kind of keep wrestling with the tension of all of this. I suppose for us, we simplify it and bring it back to Matthew 22, love God, love others. And so how do we create an environment at a residential to help people do those two things better or more? How do you love God more and love others? And so that kind of informs our decision making. So it's about relationship, and it's even little things like small groups. So everything that we do, we tend to filter through the lens of small groups. So you've got a leader, 2 leaders, 3 leaders, and a bunch of 10 young people. And so how do we maximise that? So it comes down to transport. So we try and get small group leaders to transport their few. They are in teams together, they're sharing devotions together, they're in dorms together apart from the small group leaders, and so it's trying to maximise all of those little components. But we try and manage that tension between the good solid Bible teaching that you want. So we have typically 4 sessions thereabouts over a weekend, Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning. Pretty standard in lots of ways, but those sessions are about 2 hours long. So there's really good teaching, really good worship, prayer ministry, small groups in those. So it's trying to prioritise those in the programme, but then create opportunities around that to have really good fun for processing personally, but also together with your few or your small group. And a chance just to relate to one another and ask questions, even over meal times and all of that. It's just those little opportunities. And we have been learning over the years.
Yeah.
We do it slightly different each year.
Okay.
And play about with it a little, but we're fairly intentional about what we put in.
Yeah.
And the kind of flow of that. So thinking of like high energy, low energy stuff, and how all that fits together. What we've found actually as well, those younger ones, so we've got year 8 through to year 14. So the year 8, year 9s struggle a little bit with the free time.
Yeah.
We don't have much of it, but we do stick in a bit. And they struggle a little with the unstructured nature of that, whereas the older ones love that.
Yeah.
And so it's just getting the balance.
That's in the balance.
And getting feedback as it goes on.
Yeah.
I suppose the two other things I have in mind are, over the course of the year we have 3 residentials now. So we used to have 2, we've added a third in. So it's Walk Wisely in October, which is very much focused on wisdom. So we could keep coming back to that year on year. And we've landed on that the past 3-4 years. We just keep coming back to that. And we've kind of created a brand and all of that around that weekend. But then we've got Summer Madness at the far end, June, so it's a lot more fun. It's not as intensive for us in terms of programme. There's a bit of prep to do, obviously, getting tents and all that kind of stuff set up, but once you're there with your young people.
Sure.
And so that brings a different dynamic to it. And then in the middle, we've responded to some of the feedback from our older youth who were just loving the Walk Wisely, saying, can we have another Walk Wisely? We were like, no. But what we can do is we can offer you a spring retreat, so we'll do 24 hours away with 5th and 6th formers, specifically geared to them. So it's a lot less chilled, or a lot more chilled, a lot less programmed. It's more conversational, meals, sharing together.
Brilliant.
So each has a different kind of flavour.
Brilliant. Just picking up on that kind of time of year, obviously you've kind of, I suppose, created a programme whereby you're doing your residential nearly both at the start of the year and at the end of the year. That's maybe something that youth ministries wrestle with, which one's better. From your experience, what are the kind of pros and cons to each option? So the October one's quite early, the
absolutely
Easter later.
We've played about with this again over the years. So growing up in youth, we had an Easter weekend, so it was 5 days over the Easter weekend, Friday through to the Tuesday, and it was brilliant. So that works well in that context. Coming to Windsor, we've played about with kind of Christmas weekends, or coming up to Christmas, early in the year, kind of September, October time, March, January, and then June at the end. And I suppose we have landed for us on a kind of rhythm that works for us. So we've put one in October because it's early doors, so you've got 2 weeks of programme under the belt in a sense, and so we want to concrete those kind of relationships and set the tone really early on, just to kind of set where we're going. So that works for us. And then March is good just before exam season, and then June is a bit more of a celebration, school's out type thing. So that works. I suppose the things that we've had to keep in mind is, family holidays. When do those most regularly happen? Even Maybank holidays and all of those kind of quirky ones. School kind of calendar when sports and exams and all that kind of stuff. So we have juggled those a wee bit. But I guess it's finding a time that works for your rhythm, both team wise, parents wise, church, young people, and you might just have to play about with that.
Experiment a little bit. Brilliant.
In terms of church merch, can I mention church merch?
So you're rocking some nice Windsor merch.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we do as part of our programme, we want to try and extend the weekend beyond the 3 days or whatever. And so we do church merch as it's been tagged. And so we've kind of worked on this over the years. So this latest weekend we give them bags. So they arrive down to the weekend, and so we give bags 4 colours. So this was the red team's bag.
Very good.
So they looked out for the name badge.
Great.
Give them their name, room, all of that kind of stuff on it, and then inside we were able to give them half zip
Oh, brilliant.
fleece
There you are.
with our logo on it, which is good, quirky, and a little card, walk wisely. It has a little welcome message on it.
Brilliant.
Just to kind of set the tone from the very start. It says, let's lean in together. We're excited for what God has in store for us this weekend. Some promo about mentoring,
Super.
our program card, Walk Wisely journal. So that's just blank space for
Great.
to take notes. So it sets the tone again from the outset, and then a planted devo. So we just put together a little devotional
Brilliant.
for them again,
Brilliant.
just to set the pace, to say we actually really value this
Yeah.
each day, and so we're going to resource you with that little pen, little key tune.
Nice. They're getting their money's worth in this
They are,
residential.
absolutely, yeah. And so a lot of people ask us, like, is it worth the money, because it costs money, and time and prep and all of that, and we say yes, because it goes beyond the weekend. That they attach that to their keys, they use the bags, they wear the fleeces way too much, and so it kind of connects beyond, and reminds them of walk wisely. What does it look like to walk wisely in everyday life and the regular stuff?
That's really helpful.
So that's been really helpful for us.
So that's all part of your kind of strategic plan of trying to help the influence of the weekend go beyond the weekend.
Absolutely.
To kind of brand it itself. That's really helpful, and so I suppose most young people can relate to those feelings, particularly in summer, where they kind of go, I was really pumped up in summer, and then throughout the year it kind of simmered off. So that's a really helpful way of bringing coherency and consistency.
It's a bit of fun.
Brilliant, yeah. I actually saw Rick Hill wearing one of these, so it's not just the Baptists.
Yeah, he came to speak a couple of years ago. So he's wearing it now.
Brilliant, great. Obviously you're an employed youth pastor. Maybe some of our listeners are employed youth pastors, maybe some of them are volunteers, but they perhaps lead up a group of volunteers. Any wisdom with how you can best prepare your other fellow youth leaders for the residential, or anything to offer there?
Yeah. So I mentioned time earlier, and residentials are labour intensive. Big style. So the 3 weekends add up to about 8 days. And so we need to be really conscious of that, as I'm paid to do this, whereas our volunteers, that's on top of what they do. And so a lot of our volunteers have stayed the course of time, and so are in jobs now with quite weighty responsibility. Getting in on a Monday after residential is not fun.
Yes.
So we just have to keep in mind that that's the reality that we're working with. And we have an amazing team of volunteers, really committed, that go above and beyond, and so that's incredible. We couldn't do this without them, and parents as well. They give us super support, and so it's within that context that then sits the prep of volunteers and how much we give them. And I suppose it comes down to 3 things for me about communication. We try and communicate way ahead of time, way beyond when we need to, almost. So in terms of time, dates, locations, price, all of that, to help them prepare and be able to kind of buy into the weekend, to go, yes, I can be there for those days with my few, and so it's communicating well ahead of time. Playing to strengths is another one. So I am rubbish at making games work, making them fun. I just can't do it. I'm rubbish at it, and so I don't do that in the programme or on residentials. Generally try and avoid it. But what I do well is admin and all the kind of workings behind the scenes, and so I do a lot of that, so the volunteers don't have to. But equally, we have people on the team who are fantastic at games. And games is often seen as just a bit of a time filler, whereas these guys really make it part of the programme and make it strategic. So that's great, and so we give that stuff away when we see it on our team. And it's trying to free up our team to invest in our young people as much as possible. So it's just being smart about how we do that. And then showing appreciation. So we've done that in various ways over the years. But it's just trying to communicate that we actually see what you do and we really value it. We couldn't do what we do without you. So we try and get messages from parents, or if they send an email to me, I fire it out to the team to let them see that. I send them little postcards to say thank you, all of that kind of stuff. Nothing massive, but it just communicates actually we really appreciate.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so I think that's what it comes down to.
Brilliant, it's really helpful. And finally then, with regards to location, obviously location is important, and in Northern Ireland everyone's always scratching their heads perhaps about different locations which benefit their group. Any notable mentions for locations?
Yeah, so Castlewellan's always a kind of bit of a favourite for mine growing up. We did lots of high schools, but then we landed on Castlewellan growing up, and that was a really special place for us. Lots of shared memories there. It's big, and so it tends to be a little bit more expensive, I guess, and so that's maybe not possible for everyone. Tullymore Outdoor Pursuit Centre is another great venue. It's a bit more outdoorsy focused, and so there's a bit of flexibility with that, and great facilities on site. Ballyhome Residential Centre, we've used that for kind of smaller weekends. But the one that I kind of keep coming back to, Millertown, is fantastic. Really, really good. Jason and Gemma there, fantastic couple, brilliant team and setup, facilities. You've got the beach, the mountains, sports hall, you've got the barn for worship space, so we tend to protect that. So it's just for worship and prayer ministry, and then you can do everything else out and around the grounds or in the sports hall. They've got a pool and games room, accommodations great, food's good, and we just love it there.
Brilliant.
I think there's something really special about that place actually, in terms of location, but also just the presence of God's people there for a long time worshipping. I think changes the atmosphere. Brilliant.
Some great mentions there, so check them out. Mark, thanks so much, really appreciate you taking the time to teach us and show us some great top tips with regards to residential. So make sure you check the other podcasts out. Thank you for joining for our first episode of Youth Talk, and catch you soon.